several games based on summer movies already on store shelves, one must wonder just what chance yet another similar title has. Oddly enough, Hellboy's Science of Evil isn't exactly a video game based on a movie, but rather a unique entry into the Hellboy universe. Does it distinguish itself enough from the film?
He should not wonder, just depart.
But I just got here.
They are demons. The combination is
Violent?
volatile.
Though Science of Evil released alongside a new Hellboy film, the two actually share very little in common in terms of their narrative. In the game, Hellboy must stop the Nazi regime once again, this time led by the devious Hermann von Klimt. The plot in Science of Evil is on the thin side and doesn't do the comics or films justice. Much of the game's cutscenes are too disjointed, and you'll have a hard time drawing much from this tale.
Everyone's a critic.
Players smash their way through various locales strung into the game's single and multiplayer modes. Hordes of enemies and objects impede Hellboy's progress at every turn, and the repetitive brawler formula quickly becomes tiresome. Levels are linear, and there are points where backtracking is required. Many of the locales feature a healthy amount of platforming and puzzle solving, mixing up the pace every now and then, but it just doesn't happen frequently enough. Most of the puzzles are unclear and confusing. Some walls and objects need to be breached in order to move on, but the visual cue to alert you to destructible terrain requires close inspection. Even when they're discovered, you'll have to wait until all the enemies are mopped up to move on. Levels draw on for far too long, and Science of Evil will grind you into the dirt as you try to drag yourself across the finish line. A set of basic melee attacks and a trusty 6-shooter are at Hellboy's disposal. Players can perform standard attacks and link them in a combo, or utilize stronger moves, which deal more widespread and devastating damage. There's also an overdrive mode that functions much like the Devil Trigger, featured in the Devil May Cry series. Most enemies can be defeated with the use of almost any attack. Some strategy and skill is required later on in the game, but its relative ease makes it far too repetitive. Science of Evil also features QuickTime events that will expect input without any prompt. Various debris and objects can be picked up and used as makeshift weapons, and they're sometimes a requisite for progressing forward. Though some work like swords, the majority are projectiles, but the poor aiming and camera system sink this mechanic as well. Players will also have the chance to control either Abe or Liz, in off or online cooperative modes. Each character has its own moveset, but the only thing that changes is the amount of enemies to mash through and how some objectives can be completed. Science of Evil provides non-stop combat. The only problem is that it's stymied by repetition, a poor camera, and targeting system. Much of the game's visuals are dated, but the score and dialogue are amazing. Ron Perlman and Selma Blair lend authenticity, while several of Marco Beltrami's compositions from the movie do an excellent job setting the tone. Science of Evil looks like the typical movie-based game, which is to say, terribly bland. Even so, the atmosphere is heaped on, making it very much a Hellboy product.
This is my floor. Lines like that'll get you a bad reputation.
Science of Evil succeeds in retaining the distinct style and feel of the Hellboy movies, but it's ultimately a disposable game that is here one day and forgotten the next. A monotonous button masher, the splashes of other gameplay styles aren't well executed, and we can only recommend this to the true Hellboy fan.
I sure hope this counts as a win.